What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, it has been crazy over the span of this last week. Free agency, technically speaking, the new year just started yesterday and or Wednesday. And it's crazy because we're sitting back here and we as Colts fans were thinking, it's probably not going to be very active for the Indianapolis Colts to start this whole process out. And amazingly enough, Chris Ballard has been bringing the juice, literally, when it comes to all of this news that has been happening over the last basically 3 days. Re-signing guys, letting guys go, bringing in new people. There's been a lot to this, guys, and it's really been crazy to watch because Cody and I were talking about it this year, and we said we were never going to get our hopes up for the Indianapolis Colts to really do anything because we just assumed that there might be a re-signing here and there, some other things that are going on, but we didn't expect a lot of things to go down for the Indianapolis Colts. But Ballard has, done a lot early on in this free agency, and we're not sitting here saying that he's done more than any other free agency that he's done. It's just from the first week, typically Ballard doesn't do a ton of big things every single year. It's primarily over the last 2 years, he has not really done a lot for that. We know in the 2020 free agency period, he obviously made the big trade of acquiring DeForest Buckner and the move to bring Phillip Rivers in at quarterback. That might have been some of the biggest moves that we've ever seen from Chris Ballard and making the team better. But this year, just from a early on standpoint, has just done so much more than what we have normally come accustomed to seeing from the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, just looking at it now, of course, you talk about one of the earliest moves that the Indianapolis Colts made. I mean, they re-signed Tyquan Lewis. It was a smart idea to bring in a defensive lineman that's helpful. Ryan Kelly and Molly Cox are announced that they're on the trading block. So that's something coming out that we normally don't see. Unfortunately, Bobby Okereke had to be let go. There wasn't much choice of bringing him back. We saw that Brandon Faison was heading back to the Raiders, so that's good to see for that. And then you talk about some of the biggest moves that were made from the beginning. Colts re-signing EJ Speed. Obviously, you lost Bobby Okereke, so you needed to make sure you kept EJ Speed around, which is a very smart idea. And then you're talking about this kicker, Matt Gay, being brought in on a record-breaking deal, right? He's one of the highest paid kickers in all of the NFL now because of this, and the Colts bringing in, where a lot of fans were very surprised by that due to the fact of what Chase McLaughlin did last year for the Indianapolis Colts, kind of, providing more stability for the Indianapolis Colts last year. But then they go out and they go and get another guy and get in free agency that, really takes it to a whole nother notch, right? So that's kind of where we're at in this moment. And then, of course, when you talk about the moves that were made Tuesday, the Colts ended up trading Stephon Gilmore to the Cowboys. That one came out of nowhere. No one expected that move to be made. But of course, it makes a lot of sense now when you're thinking about it. Gilmore gets to play with a contender. The Indianapolis Colts create some cap room. That's important for them. And then, of course, they finally dropped Matt Ryan, creating more cap. And then we end up signing 49ers pass rusher Samson Ebukam, which was a big one. Again, did not expect them to sign another defensive lineman like this. But again, it was a 3-year, $27 million deal. So it allowed for the Indianapolis Colts, who now have depth at defensive line in the way that they need. Now, will there potentially be more of this? There could be. Because as it stands right now, I mean, you really, if you're the Indianapolis Colts, you have about 3 defensive tackles and about 4 or 5 defensive ends. So you might need to have an extra one. So there will probably still be more movement on the line, but did not expect the Colts to be that active in that. But then you also got Taven Bryan, who also can serve as a defensive tackle. So that helps for that. So you're rounding out, your defensive line group for the most part. And then they signed Ashton Doolin just this past day. So that's going to shake things up with the room. And of course, standout Tony Brown, special teams, he's back. So that's all good. So, Indianapolis has now re signed 4 different guys, has signed 2 new guys, and put Carter O'Donnell on an extension. But of course, this means that Indianapolis has now released Matt Ryan and did not re-sign Brandon Faison or Bobby Okereke. And cornerback Stephon Gilmore was traded. So there's a lot more going on with Indianapolis right now than what we are accustomed to seeing. And of course, there's still a lot more moves to be made. What does all those moves mean for the remaining guys that the Indianapolis Colts need to either attempt to re-sign or go get somewhere else? I mean, Paris Campbell, now that you re-signed Ashton Doolin, what does that do for Paris Campbell going forward? Yannick Ngakoue almost guaranteed won't be back at this point unless he takes a team-friendly deal, which I don't think is going to happen considering the fact he just had almost double-digit sacks last year. Rodney McLeod doesn't sound like he's coming back, but we'll see. Matt Pryor, I would presume, is not coming back. Dennis Kelly is still there. Chase McLaughlin most likely will not be back. Matt Hawk, the punter, may not be back. Byron Cowart may not be back. Defensive end Bam Banogu, he may not be back. So there's a bunch of these remaining free agents that the Colts are potentially not going to be getting. And of course, we've seen all the people that they have brought in. They have brought in help on the defensive line, a lot of defensive line help. They've kind of assured that they have their big 3 on the linebacker core going forward. And of course, they reassured special teams. They got depth at the wide receiver position by bringing in Ashton Doolin. Who knows if Paris Campbell's going to be there or not. So, you have those situations, but obviously now with these moves being made, it now presents even more opportunities for the Indianapolis Colts, or burdens, if you want to call it that, because now you have to go and get a new corner. You still have to get your quarterback situation filled out right. And of course, offensive line depth is still a big need. And of course, wide receiver, you still need depth. You still only have 3 wide receivers truly remaining on this roster right now, outside of guys like who are on their rookie deals like Mike Strawn. But I don't think we could see Mike Strawn being wide receiver 4 going into this year. I just don't see it. But, wide receiver is still being needed. Cornerback is an absolute need, and offensive line is still a big need. So there's still a lot more moves to be made. How quickly will Chris Ballard, do these things, right? I applaud the fact that he has, really quickly gotten the special teams units figured out very quickly, getting help on that defensive line in the way that he has. So you now feel comfortable, except for one spot on your defense, to continue moving forward, and that's at corner. But then now you need to, start working on the rest of your offense, right? So that's kind of a situation where now Ballard maybe felt that that was the best way to attack this, was attack certain positions early and, get those assured so that later on when things are developing, he can figure out the best ways to get all of these positions filled. But nevertheless, guys, I mean, this is a very strange thing for us. We were debating on whether or not Chris Ballard was going to be a, different in his free agency approach. So far, it has been a little different. He's been a lot more aggressive a lot sooner. Is that going to continue? Is there going to be more big splash moves that they make? I don't know. It's unlikely, but there is the opportunity for that now. And we'll just have to wait and see if there's anybody else that gets re-signed and if there's any big name free agents or trades that are made for the Indianapolis Colts going forward before the draft comes up. So this will be very interesting, guys. I'm love to hear your thoughts on Chris Ballard's approach to free agency through the first week so far of free agency and what's gone down so far. You guys let me know. But thank you guys so much for all the support lately on the videos. It's been very much appreciated. Love to hear you guys' thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.